gods of the nations are idols. And that's with a small g. We know that. The gods of the nations are idols, part 1. So, the lesson is exactly how it starts out. It's talking about these gods that are idols, and it has some language in it that's still used today to hide what they're talking about, with the idols and what it's about. So we got some definitions. These are general definitions. You can look them up online, that the words are going to be used in here, so you'll know what's being brought out of the lesson, what part it is, and because it's history. We know it is. We know what it is, and the world will use it to hide it, put it in other forms, and this lesson just shows that no, it's still going on now, and this is the part of the lesson that's going to be brought out. So there's the first word to get some understanding is atheism, and we're not going to ask questions. Do you know what this word means? We're just going to give it to you. So this lesson is a good lesson, pretty lengthy lesson. So we're going to push through atheism. How could you get the definition for atheism?
So it's a noun. First definition says disbelief or lack of belief in the existence of God or gods.
So, atheism. Disbelief or lack of belief in the existence of God or gods. So there you know when they're saying in the definition that there is one God or gods. And our part of the lesson is with the elders. And there's another word. It's agnostic.
It's also a noun, first definition. A person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or anything beyond material phenomena. A person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God.
So that's going to be your scientific terminology that you'll get when we speak with people that they look at us as Israelites. What do you do? How do you understand God? And what did this come to? And all this and that. So we'll have that when we in our walk. That's what we run into, whether it's at work or whatever. So we'll know, we're not going to say you're agnostic. We're just, you don't know. But the world has a title for them. So, and here's another word that's going to be brought up. So you'll know what atheism is when the elders have in the lesson. You'll know what agnostic is. They're not with anything. So there's antediluvian. Antediluvian. Go ahead, Doc.
It's an adjective, first definition, of or belonging to the time before the biblical flood. Gigantic bones of antediluvian animals. Similar, before the flood, prehistoric, primeval, primordial, and primate.
So, they know these are words that are used to describe before the flood. And they'll say it's a story or whatever. This is not no theory. This is history. There's no theory. They know what it is. We know what it is. So, we can move forward in the lesson. I just want to make sure that we understand what these words are so you can connect when the elders talk about the parts of the lesson, what they're talking about. The atheism, lack of belief of existence of a God or gods, agnostic, they're not putting their faith on nothing, scientific, whatever they want to put it. And this lesson really feeds off a lot of the other lessons that elder has. So there's parts in here that this lesson go longer this way, longer that way. So this is part 1. So hold tight with this one, and when they bring the next one out, we'll be able to connect it in. So let's get into the commentary.
The gods of the nations are idols, part 1. We are living in a time where idol worship, the worshiping of many a religion, and atheism are at the highest point they have ever been in world history.
So now you understand what he's talking about in this commentary, the atheism. Go ahead, brother.
Why is this the case, and how did we get here? With so many religions, so many gods, and so many interpretations on how to worship whom the world calls God, many people get confused and discouraged and have become atheists or agnostic. You also have those that say we all are worshiping the same God. We are just worshiping Him in our own way and culture. In the lesson, we will see that there are many gods and that these are the gods that the Gentiles serve, but there is only one true power that created all, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
So, when we talked about the atheists, when we talked about the agnostics, it could be, and I've had a little walk now understanding where they were going to church, whether it was wrong or not. They were going and seeking God and trying to find Him. But something happened in the body that they saw there at that church that turned them away to get away completely from the Father. So whether it was why they got to collect so many tithes, or why they got to know how much I make, I get that. That's a part of it. Without just turning away, all they want is my money. That's all they're asking for. So I've heard that and got that from people that walk away from the church. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to deal with it. Now knowing that their relationship with the Most High is first, and everything else can come. Where we're going to be like, as Israelites, that's how we talk. Like, you got a relationship with the Father first, and then everything else can be put together. You worried about that church, a physical structure, not knowing, and like Shai said, we heard not knowing the scriptures, and we were there. So, this precept we're going to go into, this is a precept that Brother Yaqua brings out, Yaqua Ba, brings it out for the choir, and he sings it, but let's get to it. This is David. Let's go to Psalms, chapter 96, verse 1. Because we're looking at, this lesson that's going to be brought out, but let's make sure we know us first, where we're at with the Father, and what we understand with the Father.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 96, verse 1. Oh, sing unto the Most High a new song. Sing unto the Most High, all the earth. Sing unto the Most High, bless His name. Shew forth His salvation from day to day. Declare His glory among the heathen, His wonders among all people. For the Most High is great, and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Most High made the heavens.
All right, so it says, the precept talks about to be feared and praised above all gods. So it's the Old Testament. So somebody's like, you're in the Old Testament. That don't apply. We're not with that. So we have this understanding, like, okay, we know this, but okay. And you want to go heavy. They're always like, the misunderstandings of Paul. What was Paul always saying? So let's see what Paul's going to give you about the gods and what it is and how it comes down. And through this lesson where it's going to be brought out. So let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 19. So we read that in Psalms. We understand what it means that, for the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He's to be feared above all gods. We got it. Old Testament, they're like, okay, but we don't work like that. We're not with that. Okay. You want to work with Paul. So there's always like manipulating Paul's understanding, manipulating what Paul's got to say. But let's see what Paul says directly to you about this, and what could you manipulate with what Paul says here now. Let's get it, brother.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 19. What I say then, that the idol is anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything. Verse 20, but I say, that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, and not to the Most High. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils.
So, what are they going to say there? What would a Gentile mentality person have to say there? Where are they going to go with that? They'll have to go to a precept where? What say I then? That the idol is anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything. And in my study Bible tells me no fellowship with devils. And I don't know if you got a study Bible, what it says, what does it mean? So it's no fellowship with devils. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, and not to the Most High, and I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. So, again, erring and not knowing the scriptures, error. So, the elder's going to clear that up, and it's going to come through, and it comes through in this lesson. So, they're going to look at it as, oh, you know, devils, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Well, the elders in this lesson, you'll be able to get these precepts, you'll be able to go here, and you'll be able to straighten it out. Like, well, what do you want to mean by the devils? What do you mean? Just, you know, a bad person? No, it says idols. And you're sacrificing to them, and you're doing things for them. Whether it's behind closed doors, where they do it on higher levels, or whether you do it in your house, because different nationalities will put things in their house. Whatever it may be, whatever tribe it may be that we have of us that is off. You know, there's a lot going on, you know. All the other tribes and the Gentiles are doing it. And we're gonna get it. It's here. It's in this lesson. Let's go to the next commentary.
The gods of the Gentiles are idols, and for every idol they make, there is a god attached to it. But the Most High God, the God that created the universe and everything in it, is to be feared above all these lesser gods. Paul tells us that these idol gods that the Gentiles sacrifice to are demons. So where did these gods or demons come from?
Come. And we're going to get it, because it's in the lesson. Here we go. Let's go to Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And in this study Bible, it says man's wickedness. That's what it says in this study Bible. So Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And what we're going to read, we're going to go 6 through 4. And then here, you're going to read some things in the Word. It's going to be where we can take this lesson somewhere else. We can take this lesson somewhere else where it goes to. Well, the elders already brought out different lessons on it. We'll talk about it, and I'll get it, but it would be going into basically one of the elders' lessons and taking this lesson somewhere else. And I was looking at this, the way it was being shown. So we're talking about the idols. We're talking about identifying what these idols and demons are. Not anything else right now in this lesson, so let's stay with that where we're at, so we can stay where we're at. So that's why we know atheism, we know agnostic, we know antediluvian. Let's stay within where we're at with this part of the lesson. So go ahead, brother.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of the Most High saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair.
Okay, so these sons of the Most High saw the daughters, flesh, here, from us men. They were that beautiful, and they were looking down and lusted after them. But enviously, they didn't want us to be them. Like, how can this be that they can look at a woman, flesh, in their spirit, that lust that was in them, these just devilish spirit that was on them already, wanted to look at women on this earth. They were with the Most High, they knew the Most High, they were beyond flesh, but they wanted to come down there and be with the daughters, because they knew that the Father had put us here for a reason and what it was. So keep going, brother.
And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Most High said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
All right, so that part of it right there already is another lesson. Wasn't it that lesson that Elder brought out?
I believe it's the sign of the times.
The sign of the times, yeah. So it'll be the Jubilees and how the Jubilees tie into the 120 years and the end time. So, yeah, right, brother, 6,000 years. So, yeah, we could go there, but we're gonna keep moving on. There is that. So there's that lesson that you can go check that one out if you want to get that. I didn't want to just go blow past it and not say that, we can stop there. But that's that lesson. And I think it's, a good algebra lesson, a good short one, 3 hours. Should be all right, So let's go into the next precept. Yeah, 6 and 4, please.
Verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of the Most High came into came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them.
So these sons that were up there dwelling came down, had children, and it's going to get explained. When we go further in the lesson, you're like, okay, how did this happen? What happened? So listen to that part of it. They came in, they had children, they bare them. Keep going, brother.
The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
So the men of renown part of it goes back to in history where the antediluvian part of it comes in. Atlantis, all that before, Moses, it was Enoch's time when he was young. That's what we're coming into, so you get an understanding of what this means, like where we're going to this men of renown, and why the Greeks would look at them like, and put these gods up there. They knew all this. They knew these. That's why they became gods and did these things, because they kept following it. They kept worshiping it. It was from then. It's from that time. So recognize that part of it. So this is not the atheism part of it. This is not the Gnostic. This is antediluvian. This is the history that they know about. Dinosaurs and all that. It's coming. Go ahead, brother. Let's go to, we're going to go to the book of Enoch. And I'll give you some time to get there. Let's go to the book of Enoch, and we're going to go to chapter 6. And the book of Enoch, and how we know to reference the book of Enoch, will be from Jude chapter 1, verse 4, and Hebrews 11 and 5, because it's mentioned, Enoch's mentioned in the Bible. So we'll know. Like, why are we going to Enoch? How do we go to Enoch? How can we know to go there? But we're going to go into the book of Enoch, chapter 6, verse 1. And this will clear up what we just read. It's going to clear up what we just read in Genesis. But let me give you some time to get on. If you got to get on your phone, you got to get on your pad or something like that. The book of Enoch. And oh yeah, please have patience with my brother, because there's going to be a lot of reading. There's going to be a lot of reading coming. So patiently read with him, go with him, and we're going to go. Go ahead, brother. You already did that. I can give you to it, right? Oh yeah, you can take that. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
This is the word renown. It's a noun. It says widespread reputation, especially of a good kind, fame.
So these renowned men were the mighty men. That's what that was explanation for. Widespread reputation of a good kind, and they have fame. And they find all these parts, they find all these things, and we know that they come with dinosaur bones and all stuff like that. That's all the way back then. And the men, and what do they do in the Smithsonian? And we look at this stuff and they hide it. It'll be there, then I'll be gone. They don't understand how the sword could be that big and who can wield it. All these things that they'll see, different shields and stuff. And this is what we're talking about. This is the part of this lesson we're going to. So these gods, not the Most High, it's going to get cleared up right now. Let's get it, brother.
This is the book of Enoch, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters.
Our sisters, this is not yet. This is just paralleling what we just read in Genesis about our sisters, that they're looking down and like, wow, look at their flesh. But they're up there with the Most High. This is the level that they're at. This is where they went to. That's where they fall. That's what their fall is to. That's what they call the fallen ones. Go ahead, bud.
And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. Verse 3, and Samjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecation, not to abandon the plan, but to do this thing. So that brother, some Joseph Smooth talked him into agreeing with it,
You know, smooth talked them into the serpent talk, that talk, and smooth talked them into doing it. Go ahead, brother.
Then swear they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecation upon it. And they were in all 200, who descended in the days of Jared of the summit of Mount Hermon.
So that days of Jared is what we're talking about, the antediluvian time of it. So you'll know before Moses, you know, the time behind then, and we'll keep going. It'll start clearing up so you'll understand it. So just remember that the days of Jared, it'll clear up. The lesson's going to clear up. Keep going, brother.
And they called it Mount Hermon, because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecation upon it. So,
we know that the elders brought up the lesson about Mount Hermon and the stars and the falling, and you see it in the movies that it's a mount and the stars are surrounded about it, and there's an understanding of it. So you get a visual about it, but now you're reading about it, so they know about it. So they know about these other gods. They know about the one God. Because if it was happening then, it's happening now. It's the same thing, brothers and sisters, it's the same thing. But this lesson, the elders are bringing it to you so we'll understand it. Not to be looking at other people like, oh, you know, they're that and this, that. Nah, we got to be Israelites, we got to be the light, we got to do our job. And whenever the time comes for an opportunity to do good work, and you'll get in this lesson, it's going to show it too. Like, what happens, even back then, Israelite followers of the Most High, how it can affect and change and do the work of the Most High. It's because His will. It's His will. Let's go to staying in Enoch. Let's go to Enoch chapter 7. And what it is, we're going to catch up to what happened and what the fallen ones wound up doing and teaching the daughters and the men what to do. All the enchantment, you know. So when they say like a practicing doctor, because we know that's witchcraft, they're practicing what? So they'll say it like it's straight up practicing doctor. And I know in families they'll be like, yeah, you know, if somebody dies in their family, like he's still practicing, he still ain't got it right. But it don't matter. We know what it is. They'll look at it like that. They're like, oh, there's more to it than that. There's way more to it than that. So this lesson, like I said, it's going to be an understanding where you can't take it as, oh, God, it's high knowledge now. You can have this knowledge, but the Most High wants you, you know, we still have to be in order with Him. And it shows a lesson, because the gods of the nations are idols, and who we are, who we're with. And when the brothers and sisters in the choir pray, He's looking down on us, He's checking us out. He's looking at us. This is our Father looking at us. This is who we are as Israelites. Because it changes, you know, we become different people. We become real to Him, and He'll be real to us. Okay, let's go to Enoch, chapter 7, verse 1.
This is the book of Enoch, chapter 7, verse 1. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them.
So they weren't supposed to be doing that. They weren't supposed to have no relationships with no brothers and sisters on earth. That's not what they were supposed to be doing. So they defiled themselves. Go ahead, brother.
And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants.
They bare great giants. Go ahead, brother.
Whose height was 300 ells. Who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind.
Because they had a spirit to keep eating. They had a spirit to just keep taking. They had a spirit of just wanting more, and enough wasn't enough. What does that sound like? I just need a little bit more money. I just need a little more bank account. I just need that spirit to just keep rolling. You know, I want them 2 cars, and I gotta have this, and I gotta have that. But we know Yeshua told us, be happy with what you have. You want the kingdom here, or you want the kingdom with me? So, like an Israelite, as we are, we got that work, and we got our work, us. So we're working on ourselves, but we're trying to get this out too at the same time. So this is like a double thing. It's a double thing for us. So it's a labor. It's a labor. And when it says we give our life for our brother, if you give your life, means your life, like how many years of your life you live. Not like I'm gonna take a bullet. That happens too. I'm gonna protect this brother, I got him. But I'm giving my life to do this work. It's a life. That's us. It isn't just like, oh, I'm gonna help him. Hold up, don't do that to him. That's part of it too. But to give our life for the Most High, for His work, that's us. And that's why we got the punishments, and that's why we don't, because we got to get this understanding. And thank the Most High with this lesson, how it comes out with the elders. Let's get it, brother. Where we at?
Verse 5. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and to drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusations against the lawless ones.
All right, so they began to sin against birds, beasts, and reptiles, and fish, and devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. So, dinosaurs, all this wickedness with the birds, they sinned against them, right? What did they do? They genetically mutated them, made them into wicked birds and all these things. No creations of the Father. That was nothing from the Father. It had nothing to do with Him. They just wanted to play with what He had created. That's what they wanted to do. And they concealed themselves because, and we'll get to it too, it's going to be later in the lesson where they can consider themselves to look like a man, they can consider themselves to look at something else. Because if angels can be against us, be with us unawares, what do you think they were doing when they had fallen down and they slept with the women? And these are the children that did this. It was the children that done this part of it. So they were teaching how to cut roots and how to, make medicines and do all these other things and alcohol. It just doesn't make sense. Like, how does a person know how to do these things like that? The Most High gives us for all the understanding, and we just destroy how we can take wood and make it wicked. Let's keep going. Let's go. Let's go to the earth is crying out to him, right? So he's like, no, this can't be. Why, let this not happen no more, Father. Let's stay in Enoch. And let's go to chapter 15. Because we're looking at the gods and what they are and what they do. They're spirits. We have to look at them as that. We have to understand why we get spirits and why we get attitudes and why we get a unpatient spirit on us, or we'll get an angry spirit on us. That ain't supposed to happen. We're not supposed to have none of that on us. Do we have to work to change to get that away from us, to change that man? Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. So Enoch was showing a lot. Enoch was given a lot. And Enoch gives us a lot. So we have to respect that and be thankful for that too. That the Most High gave us this to get this understanding. We're different than that. It's not us. Let's get it out. We're at Book of Enoch chapter 15, verse 8.
Verse 8 reads, and now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on the earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of the earth, which were born upon the earth, on the earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress.
That says spirits. Remember, this is the spirits of these giants. Go ahead, brother. We're going to finish off this section, and this part of the lesson, and we'll get into the hour of prayer.
They destroy, attack, do battle, work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men, against the women, because they have proceeded from them.
So, the giants who are produced from spirits, the fallen ones, and the flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth all their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from the bodies, because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. The fallen ones came down. They shall be evil spirits on the earth, not in heaven. And evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits on the earth, which were born on the earth, not originally up there with the Father, shall be their dwelling. And he gives a list of what they do: afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, work destruction, cause trouble, take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst. So all those things will happen to us. The spirit that we'll have: a spirit to afflict, a spirit to oppress, a spirit to just destroy, a spirit to attack, to do battle. Don't talk to me like that. What? I want none of that. What? Work destruction. Well, let's do this, because if we do this, we'll get them out the way. Then we'll get what we want. We'll go do some destruction, and we'll figure out a way to get them out the way. You know, cause trouble. Take no food, because they can't. It says they can't take no food. But nevertheless, they're hungry and thirsty. So they're going to make a person want to keep eating and thirst and indulge and take too much and have more and not know that there's a spirit on us making us do this. There's a spirit on us making us do this. Cause offenses and not even care about causing offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. And the women, because they have proceeded from them. All right, let's go to our prayer, brothers and sisters. Where we at? Okay. All right, let's get to the next commentary from the elders.
During the time before the flood, there were angels, who are the sons of the Most High, that left their heavenly habitation, came into the earth, and dealt with the daughters of mankind, impregnating them. These women would give birth to the children of these angels, who were to be called giants. The book of Enoch let us know that these giants, or Nephilim, would stand 3,000 ells, which is equivalent to 6,000 feet tall. So to call them giants would be an understatement.
That's why they know in the history they'll cover all this up. They cover it all up. Because these giants or Nephilim would stand 3,000 ells, which is equivalent to 6,000 feet tall. Yeah. And there was a bunch of different ones, and they had different heights, and this is just equivalent to one of them that could be like that. So it was wicked. It was wicked. And this is the Most High looking down on all this. And again, this is that antediluvian period that the world calls it antediluvian. Now we know where we're at with this. So that's why they're teaching it, in a secret pocket of it. And other people know about this and have this understanding, but they don't correlate it to scripture. They'll just be like, this is just something that happened. It's just evolution. Keep going, brother.
Notice how they will become men of renown, meaning that their fame will be widespread throughout all the land during the time and all the ages that will follow after their deaths. Long before there was ever a Greek, Long before there was any Greek or Roman mythology, these giants ruled in renowned cities like Atlantis and were worshipped after the flood in the Babylonian and Egyptian empires. In the days of Jared, the 200 angels that left their heavenly habitation will become the gods and goddesses. Their children, the giants, will become the demigods, and these will be the deities that the nation will worship throughout all the ages. Let's get more proof of this.
So, it covered Atlantis. It walked us into Babylonian, Egyptian time with these empires to understand that they would become the demigods, and these would be the deities that the nations would worship. The Greeks would hold all this. So we're going we're moving up forward. It's still going on. It's still going on. They're still worshiping and doing wickedness. That spirit is still going on. It ain't trying to hide. It's still there. It's just knowing man, because it has been here. It's knowing us. We do this on them. We do that on them. Wicked. Because if that main spirit could smooth talk them to do more, it's gonna stop. They got a job to do. We got a job to do. All right, let's get some more proof. So let's go to the book of Enoch, chapter 19. And Enoch is going to clear all this up. So we're going to get descriptions of these spirits and how they correlate to the world. And the elders have broken down these spirits and where they're at, and where they're at in Greek mythology, and how they fit in where they're at, and how we still look at them to this day, and how they'll still be worshipped today in different places. Go ahead, brother.
This is the book of Enoch, chapter 19, verse 1. And Uriel said to me, here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons and gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens.
So, backed up into the chapter before, Enoch's asking about them. He's looking at those angels like, what's going on with them? And it describes, it talks to them like, they're already in pit. They're already in a place that's so deep that he can't even describe. He's looking, he's like, there's no bottom, but he knows it's wicked, and it's a fire, and it's these angels who connected themselves with women and their spirits, many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing demons as gods. Here shall they stand to the day. So the Most High puts them in there, but their spirits that are on the women, here's what happens. What are they called? They became sirens. To the day of judgment, those violent ones are there, but because their spirits still dwell, their spirit became a part of these women, and they became something wicked, straight wicked, and it's going to describe it, what they do and what happened to them. And this is just one of them. It's just one of them. Go ahead,
Siren mythology. In Greek mythology, the sirens, Greek, it says singular, were dangerous creatures who lured nearby sailors with their enchanting music and singing voices to shipwreck on the rocky coast of their island. According to the Greek Neapolitanist philosopher Proclus, Plato said there were three kinds of sirens: the celestial, the generative, and the
factory.
Carthage, the first were under the government of Zeus.
So, before you keep going, so if they lured these sailors, these travelers, with enchanting music, what does that sound like? This is what we have going on today with music. It's nothing different. It's nothing new. singing voices to shipwreck on the rocky coast of their island. They just destroy themselves. That's how the music was to put on them. They destroyed themselves and shipwrecked on a rocky coastal island. And this is the Greek mythology where it's at now. This is where it's at now. What happened with the women. Go ahead, brother. I think you're at the first. Yep. Oh, okay.
The second under that of Poseidon, and the third of Hades. When the soul is in heaven, the sirens seek by harmonic motion to unite it to the divine life of the celestial host, and when in Hades, to conform the soul to eternal infernal regimen.
So the harmonic motion, in electrical there's a harmonic, in bodies there's harmonic, in music there's harmonic. I know you know that, brother. It's harmonic, and it does something to the spirit. But they're doing it in wickedness. In electrical and harmonic, they've run signal and they've manipulated it to do different things. So the CERN frequencies, that's all harmonics. And they know that there's spirits there, and that's what they're doing. Go ahead, brother.
But when on earth, their only job to produce generations of which the seed is emblematic, sirens were believed to combine women and birds in various ways. In early Greek art, sirens were represented as birds with large women's heads, bird feathers, and scaly feet. Later, they were represented as female figures with legs of birds with or without wings, playing a variety of musical instruments, especially harps and lyres. The 10th century Byzantine Encyclopedia Suda says that formed their chest up, sirens had the forms of sparrows, and below they were women. Alternatively, that they were little birds with women faces.
So it could be one way or the other. They could have the foot going down at the bottom, the woman up on top, and the woman up on top of the top, and the bird on top, and the woman on the bottom. That's just how wicked it was. Go ahead, brother.
Birds were chosen because of their beautiful voices. Later, sirens were sometimes depicted as beautiful women, whose body, not only their voices, are seductive. The first century Roman historian Phili the Elder discounted sirens as pure fable.
So they wanted to change it up, build it to a better lie. Go ahead.
Although Diamond, the father of Clearchus, a celebrated writer, asserts that they exist in India and that they charm men by their song, and having lulled them to sleep, tear them to pieces.
So they're talking similes, they're talking stuff like that. They know they're just destroying people. They're just talking about destroying, because that's how the Greeks like to speak. Similes and this and that, and it means this and that, but they know it just destroys people. They know it's wicked. Go ahead, brother.
In his notebook, Leonardo da Vinci wrote of the siren. The siren sings so sweetly that she lulls the mariner to sleep. Then she climbs upon the ship and kills the sleeping mariners.
All right, so God's descriptions, we know this. We know it's wicked. What more? I mean, you don't gotta know no more than that. We know it. We got it. The elders are giving us so we'll know what's going on. It isn't because we're gonna go into the Greek. You wanted to understand go deeper into that. Just know that and be good with it. Don't go off and start getting a book and going off and start trying to find out more and more on it. Then you're just gonna be off. This is the book we're supposed to be working with. We have that. Yeah, you could get this and have all that, but that's not the full manual. But what we have, the Father has us for, the bread to eat is here. The word is here. We can have that. Don't start going off and start to learn about all these gods and stuff like that. That's not what the elders want us to understand about this lesson too. But let's go to the book of Enoch again. Enoch's clearing it up. Let's go to the book of Enoch, chapter 80 and verse 6. They got a what? Go ahead, buddy.
Well, they have a television program also called Sirens, and they're basically mermaids. It's wicked as ever. Don't even, yeah.
So that's what it is, man. So you can get into it, and then what will happen? You'll be thinking about it. It'll be in your dreams. It'll be on your mind. We already battled enough already from just seeing things visually on regular things that pop up on us, and then we're gonna go seek it. Well, we know what the Father says about that. We're not supposed to be doing it like that. We seek Him. He clears up all this stuff. We seek Him, we'll look at that like that's nothing, because I know the Most High. I don't need to look at no siren because I know the Most High. I don't need that. All right, so let's go to the book of Enoch, chapter 80, and it picks up at verse 6.
This is the book of Enoch, chapter 80, verse 6. And many chiefs of the stars shall transgress the order prescribed, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks.
So Most High, when He, in the beginning, creation, the moon, the stars, and everything, they had a job to do. And that's what they're supposed to do. Everything He created had a job to do, just like we have a job to do, order to do. And this is where they're at. They transgressed the order that they were told. They were prescribed. They were told to do this. Go ahead, brother.
And not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners. And the thoughts of those on the earth shall err concerning them. And they shall be altered from all their ways. Yeah, they shall err and take them to be gods. So, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks and not appear as the seasons prescribed to them. So they're not going to be where they're supposed to be at. And it's going to be off. And they're going to see it. Whether it's a falling star or whatever it is, it's off. It ain't supposed to be happening. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners. So what is it? From the sinners, the unlearned, the ones that don't know that you're not, that ain't supposed to be happening. This is off. So we know that the chiefs of the stars transgressed. We know this now. That wasn't supposed to happen. It's concealed from the sinners. What are we? We're not trying to be them. We don't want to be them as sinners no more. We're changing our walk. That's not us no more. The Most High didn't make them those orbits and those tasks or anything like that. For them, they made their order was for a reason. It was for a reason. And the thoughts on those, this is still a finish of chapter of verse 7. And the thoughts of those on the earth shall err concerning them. Going to look at them like gods. Going to look at them as something else that they're not. And there shall be altered from all their ways. They shall err and take them to be gods. So the sinners are going to take them to be gods because they're erring, looking at them not in their season what they're supposed to be. All right. Let's go back into the book. Let's go into Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 2. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 2. And this is for us to understand, like, what we were told. Now we got that history part of it. Now let's see what the Father's told us. These abominations that we've been reading about, these abominations, all these things that were wicked.
Father knew that we knew about this. The Father knew that we would be around us. The Father knew that we'd be looking on these things. And here's what he tells us about it. Go ahead, brother.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 2. If there be found among you, within any of thy gates, which the Most High thy power giveth thee, man or woman, that have wrought wickedness in the sight of the Most High thy power, in transgressing his covenant.
His covenant, so we know what? It's the law, statutes, commandments, everything that we agreed to. We've already said yes, Father, yes. But with that, go ahead, brother.
And have gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You're breaking my law. You're breaking my understanding. Like, why are you doing this? You're giving your children unto them. You're serving other gods, the sun, the moon, or any host of the heaven, which I have not commanded. It's me. It says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Don't look at the sun. Don't look at the moon. Don't look at the stars as there's something. Our Father created them. They didn't create nothing. He created all of it. He created it all. But we've heard, but we know better now. You can't look at nothing, the stars, the air, the clouds, everything. He created it all. Does the sun come up? Yes, it does, because he appoints it to come up. Does the moon come up? Yes, because he appoints the moon to do his job, and the stars and everything else. He appoints them to do their job. There's nothing to them at all, him. So if you want to go to the truth, that's why we always go to the Most High. We go to the truth, we go to the Most High. That's the world. Israelites of truth, that's what we are. To the Most High, that's a part of it, the truth. So let's get some understanding of it. There's some definitions they have about the sun, the moon, the hosts of heaven, which I have commanded not for us to follow, which are the idols and gods of Gentiles. Let's get the first definition. This is a solar deity. And it's these are Wikipedia links that you can look up that Ock's going to bring out. Solar deity is the first one. Go ahead, Ock.
A solar deity, also sun god or sun goddess, is a sky deity who represents the sun or an aspect of it, usually by its perceived power and strength. Pre-dynasty Egyptian beliefs attribute Atum, that's A-T-U-M, as the sun god and Horus as a god of the sky and sun.
So, different gods could be the same thing. All the sun gods, all these generations could just be the same. You know, because if they understood one true God and one true name, a high from the beginning, there wouldn't be no confusion. There would be no confusion. We got to look at it as, you know, this is what's being taught. This is from the schools. This is like Wikipedia. I don't know if there's anybody ever put a Wikipedia page. You got to build it, and then people add to it, and you just keep adding Wikipedia. It keeps referencing wanting information. So Wikipedia, you can get the information, you can have that information, but we still got to double check everything. Like we can look at this stuff like that, but we got to reference check all the stuff we put on Wikipedia too. So we'll know. And that's something that is taught in schools or whatever. So if you look at Wikipedia like that, if they can teach Wikipedia like that, why isn't this word taught like that? It ain't gonna be taught like that. It ain't gonna be brought out like that. Know the truth and search it and find it. Something about Wikipedia, but you know, people will, Wikipedia ask for money, tell them out so they can keep bringing forth this information and have all these commercials and put their stuff in it, but let's get another one. This says, another Wikipedia, list of lunar deities, and this is from Wikipedia also. Go ahead, brother.
In mythology, a lunar deity is a god or a goddess of the moon. Sometimes as personification, these deities can have a variety of functions and traditions depending upon the culture but they are often related. Some form of moon worship can be found in most ancient religions.
We're just going to keep going and reading it because it's pretty straightforward. It's off, and he said not to do it. We just read. He's like, don't do anything like this. No sun, no moon, nothing, because there is nothing to them. I am the one who created them. So when we talk to other people and they're like, they look at their Greek gods and it happens, and they're going to get in discussions. They're like, well, what do you mean other gods? What is these other goddesses or stuff like that? Well, we got to be ready to let them know that, yeah, you can go to Wikipedia and get this understanding about these other gods and what they're connected to, because it gets connected to all the wicked holidays and all the unholy days that they have, and that's just a part of it. Have the information, know the information, so we can be ready to be like, here, this is what it means, and just let it be, let them get it, But when we tell them, first of all, there's only one true God. Like, who do you think? They don't get taught on Wikipedia. They're just they'll say gods and other gods and form of gods and God this and just female God or stuff like that. And then we go back to this: atheism, agnostic, antediluvian. Where does it all come back to? The Most High is calling them for us to give it to them, to give them the truth. We got to be able to give it to them like that too. This is a part of that work, and there's a part of this lesson too that it's going to show. Let's get to the next one. This is. It says Allah as a lunar deity. Go ahead, brother.
Allah as a lunar deity. The claim that Allah, the name of God in Islam, historically originates as a moon god worshipped in pre-Islamic Arabia. Originates in early 20th century scholarship, most predominantly advocated by American evangelicals from the 1990s. Morey argues that Allah was the name of a moon god in pre-Islamic Arabic mythology. The implication being that Allah, as the term of God in Islam, implies that Muslims worship a different deity than the Judeo-Christian one. The use of a lunar calendar as the prevalence of crescent moon imagery in Islam is said by some to be the origin of this hypothesis.
So if they're using a lunar calendar, moon god, and the moons, that's what they're counting it through. This is what this is describing them as. I didn't do any research to follow this up. I just took it as what was brought in the lesson. I didn't want to go into it. This is like, because I can look at the moon and don't have no problem knowing that the Father made that. I don't got it. I ain't looking at the moon like that. I ain't looking at the sun like that. I ain't looking at the stars like that. The air. It's the Most High. I ain't got a problem. Okay, this is where they're at. And if you see it, like people will talk like, oh, it's a full moon, she's gonna be crazy tonight. That spirit's gonna be out there. Oh, it's a full moon, we better be careful. Or yesterday, Friday the 13th. What? Yeah. We don't even care, like I don't even look at it, but there's people that you work with, they're like, oh, it's Friday the 13th, you want to tell me? Wow. You're basically, if they're already speaking that, they're leaving their spirit open for them because they're scared. We don't fear nobody, we fear the Most High. We don't fear no Friday the 13th. They put movies on it, and they program us with that, all that comes out. They'll program us with the movies, and they'll put that, what is it, the music that goes behind it, the Jason, all that music, people know the music, the sirens, with the music, lullabying us into that. It's wicked. And this lesson is, the elders, like, it's part one. This is part one. I'm like, what? Oh boy, this is part one. Let's keep going, brothers. Let's get the commentary.
The book of Enoch shows us that the angels that sin with women will lead mankind astray into sacrificing to their children the Nephilim, who will become evil spirits after after their deaths, to demons as gods, just as Paul warned us. The women who sinned with these angels would also become known as sirens. When we look at mythology, we see the sirens as part woman, part animal, and society would want us to write this all off as myth. However, Enoch also shows us that the fallen angels mix different animals, species together, whom the world in modern age call dinosaurs. These creatures were also worshipped as gods then as well as now. We see that modern so-called science is mixing and hybridizing human and animal DNA, and we know that there is no new thing under the sun. Christ also told us in the end times, it would be like the days of Noah, so part human, part animal, and not mythology or folklore, but factual as byproduct of the sin of the fallen angels and their children. And it wasn't just these stars and their abominations that were worshipped by society, but all the hosts of heaven, including the sun and the moon.
All right. Pretty much straight up what we just read, understanding it, meeting the science, what's going on right now. What are they doing? Mixing. I mean, just from the food aspect alone, aren't they like, they're genetically adding extra wings to chicken and extra things to food so they can have another wing, so they can have more meat, you know? Yeah. You know, they're doing all this, and the language that they're using when they say EPA regulations, there's one thing you can look at this. The Environmental Protection Agency or the food agencies for the country, the departments are so small, there's no way that it's being regulated. There's no way. There's no way. So they just write language to go ahead and go, because why? Because the big companies have the funds to get what they want. And here's the other thing too. Gentiles, or who we say people not of understanding, know this. So like everything we're talking about, like this lesson, and what they're looking at, they're searching for an answer. And it's our job to be ready to give it to them. They're searching for it. They know things are not right. They know things are not right with the water. They know things are not right with the food. They know things are out of order. They know why, what are you worried about putting people on the move for? You can't even, potholes. You got potholes in the road. They know this. They're looking at it now. It's becoming more to it. And there's a generation to where you would think like the younger generations only because they look YouTube videos and stuff like that. Nah, it's happening in the older generations too. They're getting fed up because what happens? Because their children got to come back and live with them financially. They're like, well, you're supposed to be out there getting your own already. Why can't you? They can't handle it on their own. They can't have their own house. They can't be out there alone. So they're looking at it too, like, what? Why can't you have your own? Why is it so hard? So they're looking at all this too. They're putting in a financial mode and the difference of what's going on, the spirit's going on in this country. And why is it looking like that? And they're looking at it, and then they buy into the we're overpopulated, And I'm like, okay, but you're a Christian, right? What did the Father say? Be fruitful and multiply. How does that correlate with, everything that you're saying? So we got to be ready, brothers and sisters, because the other nations are looking. And we were here for a purpose to show them how to have order to the Most High, know the Most High. We just got to be ready to do our job. Let's go to Jasher, the book of Jasher. We're going to go to the book of Jasher, chapter 7. And we can reference Jasher because of the book of Joshua, chapter 10, verse 13. And the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel, chapter 1, verse 18. Where the intelligence of knowing the book of Jasher, understanding was there already, before time. So if they're like, well, what are you doing? Go to that book. Or how do you understand that book? Well, if you look at this, what was given to us, King James, the Bible, I don't know what other Bibles are taking it out. I haven't done the research on that, whether they're taking that out and changing it up to different, they could do whatever, or however that goes, Some of the gods too that are in the movies, like in Conan, there'll be some gods that we're gonna be reading that you can connect with this lesson. You're like, what? It's there, they know. I think it's Dagon. There's a god called Dagon that's in the Conan movie, and that's a part of it too. But yeah, let's go to the book of Jasher, and we're going to go to verse 44. And it's going to we're going to get kind of sped up through this understanding of Jasher, or where they're at in the history. But it'll come out in the explanation with the elders. Just read, have patience with the brother when he's reading this, and it'll come out with the commentary part of it. Book of Jasher, chapter 7. We're starting at verse 44.
Book of Jasher, chapter 7, verse 44. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them. And he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings. And he became their Lord and King, and they all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel.
So, who's taking counsel now? They're taking counsel, crafty counsel. This is what's going on. Go ahead, brother.
And all the earth was one tongue and words of union, but Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Most High, and he was more wicked than all the men that were before him, from the days of the flood unto those days.
From the days of the flood until those days, this brother was, everything we just talked about, he was more wicked than them. Go ahead.
And he made
God.
He was wicked on the pole, man.
Yeah.
And he made gods of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against the Most High, and taught all his subjects and to the people of the earth his wicked ways.
All right, so this is giving you the backdrop on who Nimrod is, and if you want to look at Nimrod and you read this and go to Jasher and find out where he's at, you'll get more on understanding who Nimrod is. It's just like a quick cover so you'll know who he is. But in the world, they'll use Nimrod in cartoons and it'll go right past you, you won't even see it. They'll use Nimrod, the word, his name, and you won't even think about it. It gets used, Nimrod, and I think it was Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes, and was it Elmer Fudd? Yeah, Elmer Fudd was the hunter because he was a great hunter, and that's who Nimrod was, a great hunter. And Bugs Bunny would call him a Nimrod. Yeah. Then he take it more, and there's other books in history that take it to where Nimrod basically calls you you're a knucklehead. You're a dummy. You're an idiot. You're looked at as a dunce. You're a Nimrod. And back then in the history of where it comes down to is the reason why they were saying that is because you're a fool, because you tried to go against the Most High, and it's gonna clear up and like, how can you think you Nimrod to go against the Most High? You Nimrod, you knucklehead, you bonehead, whatever you want to say, and there's no way you can take a stand against the Most High and try to get more and be above him. And no. But again, the history, we never got taught this. This was nothing in our books. You could be called a Nimrod, but you wouldn't know. You'd be in your society, be calling you a Nimrod, but you didn't have no understanding of what this was about. Because what is it? Because we're a people of word. And we're not going to be blind no more to none of this word no more. Nothing the world wants to hide. And when it talks about, what's the most dangerous man in the world, a man who can read, a man who knows word, a man who educates himself. Okay, you can have that, right? Let's do this. Let's educate him to only what we want him to know then. He'll still be smart. He'll be smart in science, he'll be smart in math, he'll be smart in the world. He can have that, but we're still gonna run it. We took counsel against him from the beginning. We'll know. And their language will confound them, and we'll break it all down. Let's keep getting. Let's go to the book of Joshua. We're still in Joshua. We're going to go to chapter 9. I'm not going to roll through this. It's a lot of reading. Have patience with them. Have patience with them. This is Joshua 9, verse 5. We're starting it. And what it is, let me give you a little backdrop on this. So that they tried to, Abraham was born, Nimrod knew, his so-called witchcraft, magical men told him they saw something in the stars or whatever, and when Abraham was born, I'm just doing this really quick, you can backdrop and get into the chapter before to understand what happened, but they knew that when Abraham was born, that he was something special, and they had to kill him. And we're catching up to where he was hidden, and his dad and his mom, they wound up hiding him from Nimrod, and they forgot about Abraham. You know, Most High did his, all right, put them to sleep and let what I'm putting forth to happen. Nothing what you're about, nothing, Nimrod and your men. So we're catching up to where, I think he's 10 years old now. Abraham's 10 years old, he's coming out, and we're going to catch up to him in where his family and his bloodline, everything else like that was talked about in a couple other chapters, but we know where Abraham is. And like I said, go back and read that. Go back and get it. You don't, because the elders are bringing it out to understand so that you'll know where it correlates to us and what this understanding is. Let's get it, brother.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 9, verse 5. And when Abram came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instruction of the Most High and his ways. And no man knew where Abram was. And Abram served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years. And Abram knew the Most High from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of the Most High until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Most High, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Most High who had created them in the earth, and in the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver, and the sons of men served them, and they became their gods.
Basically, they were scarecrows. Go ahead, brother.
And the king and all his servants, and Terah with all his household, were then the first of those that served gods of wood and stone. And Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year.
And that's what it is. That's that zodiac. That's that zodiac for the one for every month of the year. Go ahead, brother.
And he served each one monthly, and every month Terah would bring his meat offering and drink offerings to his gods. Thus did Terah all the days.
Look at that confusion. Like, you didn't even have one, guys. They had plenty of gods. Choose one. Pick one. Have a god. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. And all that generation were wicked in the sight of the Most High, and they thus made every man his god. But they forsook the Most High who had created them. And there was not a man found in those days in the whole earth who knew the Most High, for they served each man his own god, except Noah and his household. And all those who were under his counsel knew the Most High in those days. And Abraham the son of Terah was waxing great in those days in the house of Noah, and no man knew it.
So he was waxing great with the Most High. That's what it means. He was waxing great with the Most High. But he had teachers that he was getting it from too. He was waxing great, but he had teachers there he was getting it from. Go ahead, brother.
And the Most High was with him. And the Most High gave Abram understanding and an understanding heart. And he knew all the works of that generation were vain, and that all their gods were vain and were of no avail. And Abram saw the sun shine upon the earth, and Abram said unto himself, surely now this sun that shines upon the earth is God, and him I will serve. And Abram served the sun in that day, and he prayed to him. And when evening came, the sun set as usual. And Abram said within himself, surely this cannot be God. And Abram still continued to speak within himself.
So he's pondering this, he's thinking about it, he's trying to figure this out, trying to put it together. Just like the Most High's had patience with us to try to figure it out. He was trying to figure it out too. Go ahead, brother.
Who is he who made the heavens and the earth? Who created upon earth? Where is he?
Trying to find out the Most High, just like we were. This can't be it. This can't be it. I can't be in. This church ain't right. I'm not feeling this. This ain't right. Abram's going through the same thing. This can't be it. What? Prosperity? This is the way to the Most High? Nah, can't be it. Abraham's going through this. Go ahead, brother.
And night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes toward the west, north, south, and east, and he saw that the sun had vanished from the earth, and the day became dark. And Abram saw the stars and moon before him, and he said, surely this is the God who created the whole earth as well as man. And behold, these his servants are gods around him. And Abram served the moon and prayed to it all that night. And in the morning, when it was light, and the sun shone upon the earth as usual, Abram saw all the things that the Most High power had made upon earth. And Abram said unto him, surely these are not gods that made the earth and all mankind, but these are the servants of the Most High. And Abram remained in the house of Noah, and there knew the Most High and his ways, and he served the Most High all the days of his life. And all that generation forgot the Most High, and served other gods of wood and stone, and rebelled all their days. And King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth under his control. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, put Mizraim, Cush, and Canaan with their families.
So if they were all of one tongue, they all spoke the same language, they were all on the same page, and they were all put together right there, and they were taking counsel together. So they were in league together. Go ahead, brother.
And they said to each other, come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven, and we will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole world. These are families. These are families that are doing this. Families that run things from way back. There's understanding. And we understand that that's how that goes. Like, none of our families don't run anything. None of our families don't have any of that. This is way back then. They were understanding, taking counsel against the Father. Go ahead, brother. In order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them. Because they knew that what they were going to battle, there was a lot to it that they had to go through. So you have all these councils that do these things, and there's always that wicked word, that counsel, when they're taking counsel against us. Go ahead, brother. And that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their wars. Right. Because they know that if they're going to be scattered over, there was a reason for it. They knew what would happen, that the Most High could do that. They knew it already. Go ahead, brother. And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words. And the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. And all the families assembled, consisting about 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive piece of ground. It's supposed to be expensive, maybe. Yeah. Ground to build the city. Oh no, it's extensive because it's got to be huge. Because it's going to be huge. Like the foundation of that, what they're building is huge. Go ahead, brother. Extensive piece of ground to build the city and tower, And they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like one valley at the east of the land of Shinar.
So these are families who put their money together, put their stuff together to get this done, to work together. It's his families, it's 6,000. Go ahead, brother.
About 2 days of walk, and they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. And they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and tower that they had imagined to complete. And the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin. And they began to build it. And whilst they were building against the Most High of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and ascend into heaven. And all these people and all the families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into the heaven and fight against him.
So they busted it down in families, and this is how they felt. This is how bold their heads were. They thought that they could do it. You know, this is what it's going to take for us to get this done. This is how we're going to get it done together. Let's see what happens.
The second said, we will ascend to the heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And the Most High knew all their works and all their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower which they were building. So we're going to go down to verse 32.
Yeah, we're going to jump down from there. But if you look at what's going on, all these families are going, families. But what does they always destroy us? Families. So if our families were in order, what do you think? And we were with the Most High. Look at what they knew. They had to stick together with their families to get this done, to try to go against the Most High. But we're with the Father, and let's be a family, and let's see what happens. Now let's see what happens. Go ahead, brother. We're going to jump down to verse 32.
Verse 32. And the Most High said to these 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues.
So those that were by him, those angels, he's like, we're going to go do something. Let's go. We're going to go down and we're going to straighten this out.
That one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak to one another.
So there was confusion because the language, I could be next to him, you would never know what that brother said, nothing. You would get nothing. It would be mad confusion. Go ahead, brother.
And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder was cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor that he would die.
So he couldn't even tell him, I don't want that. Just, there was no order to it. All the building, everything they were doing was set up so they could destroy themselves. They were destroying themselves now. The Father had made it so they could destroy themselves and put themselves away. Go ahead, brother.
And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. And the Most High smote the 3 divisions that were there.
These families that made these choices, this is what he did to them.
And he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to the heaven and to serve our gods, became like apes and elephants. And those who said, we will smite the heaven with arrows, the Most High killed them, one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the third division of those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, the Most High scattered them throughout the earth. And those who were left amongst them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called this place Babel, for there the Most High confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was at the earth at east. Behold, it was at east of the land of Shinar. Verse 38. And as to the tower which the Son of Man built, the earth opens its mouth and swallowed it up 1/3 part thereof, and a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third, and the other third is left to this day. And it is of the part which was aloft, and it is circumference in 3 days' walk.
So that's how big that base was in it. Like, it'd take 3 days walk for the base of the building. That's how big that building was, the structure they were building, the footprint. Like, the footprint of a building is like the square footprint of like your house, a foundation, that's the footprint. So that's the footprint. It took 3 days walk. That's what they were building. And what do we get now? We got City Tall Shoulders. And Sears Tower used to be the tallest building. That's how, Chicago was marked. But then, I don't even know what the tallest building is anymore. It's somewhere out of the country. There's Dubai, is it Dubai? Yeah, so, for what? I mean, they're doing it because they understand what they're doing. They're showing their power. They're showing what they're about. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 39, and many of the sons of men died in that tower, and a people without number.
All right. Yeah, does the brother get a drink of water because he just covered a lot right there to the history of what that is. And I don't know if any of your brothers and sisters have read Jasher, read Enoch, but it isn't also like all the other books we have. It's not a one-time read. It is not a one-time read. Because the elders bring it out and a lot of lessons, and for them to cover all of it, it's a lot. But we have work to do too, so let us read, let us do our part and understand it. We have a responsibility too. Let's get the commentary out.
After the flood, Nimrod became the king and tyrant over the whole world. And after obtaining his throne, he began to worship the antediluvian gods and not the Most High.
That's that definition, the antediluvian that we covered earlier. Those belonging to the time before the biblical flood. That's what that is, the dinosaur age, or whatever the hell the world wants to teach it to know. Go ahead, brother.
Nimrod made idols of wood and stone and taught all of mankind to worship these idols as gods, and everyone went to serve their own God except for Noah and his house. Abraham was able to distinguish that the host of heaven, sun, moon, stars, were not the Most High, but were servants that the Most High had created.
Because Abraham had a teacher, and he dwelt with understanding. He didn't try to figure it out by himself. He had a teacher. He had understanding. There was always a teacher involved. The elders, we have teachers. We never want to seek a teacher. We want to think, we have so many people that we talk to. They want to get this by themselves all the time. They want to get understanding by themselves. There's always a teacher. And we got to ask the Most High for the teacher. We have a teacher. We have teachers now. We have to honor them and take the understanding from there. And patient and keep going with them. But look at Abraham when they looked at the sun. He did that too. Looked at him because he was growing, waxing, understanding, seeing it. That's what we got to do. Wax with the Father and get that understanding. Go ahead, brother.
However, the hosts of heaven were being worshipped on a high level by the people of these times, with the antediluvian gods distinguishing themselves as the sun, moon, stars, planets, etc. Atheism was unheard of during this time, as everyone believed in a God in some sense or the other. There were the 70 angels, each angel representing a nation and a tongue, that caused confusion and scattered the people into 70 nations. And these nations took the gods that they learned from Babylon into their countries to continue to worship them.
So when we look at that, we look at Islam, we look at Christianity, we look at everything like that that's been busted down. Like, they took it all with them. Stone, idols, all the nations that took all this, it's in their houses. It's doctrinally taught, and it's okay to have that, to get that understanding. And you're looking at the new things that are happening with the Israelites. They're gonna, whatever they want to call us, a movement or whatever. And they always they come out with lessons of why now? Well, what's the big deal? Why are you looking at us now? They can have all these gods, all the other nations can have all these gods, but now we're turning to the Most High. And now there's a light on us now? Now there's attention on us now? They know. I mean, they know that this is history. They know this history, brothers and sisters. They know this history. There's a reason why they know this history. They know it's like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, whether it's the Masons, whatever other, you know, organizations that will be called councils, you know, whatever they are, they know. Keep going, brother.
The reason when you look from one culture to the next, the gods that they serve, while different culturally, have so many similarities.
Right, so Mexico, we got pyramids, Egypt got pyramids. That's why they look at all these pyramids. When they look at, when we were in the world, we look at all these, oh, let's look at the pyramids, or let's look at, you know, how the Mayans have pyramids, you know, all these things that are the same, parallel to the same. They're all the same thing. They all come from the same thing. They all have a piece of it from the same thing. Culturally, have so many similarities. Go ahead, brother.
So to answer the question from earlier, the nations are worshiping the same God. However, the God is not the Most High God.
Right. So it's okay to have any of them 70 and not be bothered. But as soon as we come back as Israelites to the Most High, now there's a problem? Hold up. Now there's a problem. Let them go ahead and have them 70. Go ahead and defile themselves. Let them be wicked, because we know that their father, he ain't going to be with them. He's just going to be mad at them and make them go through it. And we keep going through it. But nah. And, you know, we just, going back to what we just did, you know, rededicating the temple, the Maccabees, and what they went through. We're going to have to be straight with each other. And this is just a part of it. And we can't be foolish. We have to be smart with each other. We have to be smart. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. That's how it's supposed to be. We can have all this information, understanding. We got to just be ready. You know how we operate. So when people talk to you at work or ask you this, you got to discern what they're really doing. Why do they want to know this? For what? What is it about the Israelite that you're? What's your faith and what are you doing? It's got to be understanding. Talk to them, give them information. Do it like how I did it. I had to get it myself. I had to learn it myself. You know, I have a teacher. Look at my teacher. I'll show you my teacher. I can give you this, but I'll give you my teacher. You watch it. There's YouTube videos. Check out the church. Look online. You know, I'm at work. I'm supposed to be working. Let me do my job. You know, do I have time to talk to you? Yeah, I got a couple minutes, but you know, don't get caught in something where you're going to be in trouble at work. All right, so let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 29. And this is us again. This is we're being talked to. Moses is telling us, letting us know. And pay attention to like the very first words when it reads that, because that's to get the understanding of this, why these precepts are put in this lesson. Because our very first words touch the whole thing for this precept that's coming. These precepts that come.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 12, verse 29. When the Most High thy power shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their land. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. Verse 31, thou shalt not do so unto the Most High thy power, for every abomination to the Most High, which he hateth, have they done unto their gods. For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods.
And that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. So don't worry about them. Take heed to thyself that thou not be snared by following them, because it's a snare. How do they do this? What are they talking about? What is this? Let me get some understanding. What's your understanding of what? The virgin birth? What? These are our snares for us. The understanding they're snares. How did you get that, brother? Would you need a what? Thou shalt not do unto the Most High thy power, for every abomination is to the Most High, which he hateth, and they have done to their gods. It's like, how can you get this information that the Father gives us, and then we twist it up and turn it around? Because you know why? Because it becomes a snare, because you want to go and try to get some different understanding, or listen to that brother, or listen to whatever they're saying. He says, do not inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? It's a snare. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. He's telling us, leave it alone. There's nothing new. This is what these guys been doing. That's what they do. They beguile. They smooth talk. They get it. And your spirit will let you know. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And if you have different questions of understanding, we're going to have the officers and we're going to have the elders. We're going to get it. Let's go to the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 14. I think it's verse 14 through. Got a lot of reading for Rock. We got a lot of reading for Rock. Let's start at verse 14. Joshua chapter 24, verse 14.
All right, this is the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 14.
And this is it, man. This is it, brothers. This is where it says. This is it. So, go ahead, brother.
Now therefore fear the Most High, and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your father served on the other side of the flood, and in Egypt, and serve ye the Most High.
So we got that history. We read it. You read it in Enoch. You read it in Joshua. You understand it. You understand. You got more understanding to what Joshua was saying. You can't just read it and blow past it. Now we got it. Now we understand it. Let's go.
And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Most High, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood.
Staying right there. We read it. Enoch and Joshua. What's up? Go ahead.
Or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Most High. And the people answered and said, Ahia forbid that we should forsake the Most High to serve other gods. For the Most High our power, he is it that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, and which did those great signs in our sights, and preserved us in all the way wherein we went, and among all the people through whom we passed. And the Most High drave out from before us all the people, even the Amorites which dwelt in the land. Therefore will we also serve the Most High, for he is our power. And Joshua said unto the people, Ye cannot serve the Most High, for he is an holy power. He is a jealous power. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins.
So don't say this, and then don't say we're going to do all this, and then don't do it. Don't be saying this, what you're agreeing to, and then don't do it. Go ahead.
If ye forsake the Most High and serve strange gods, then he will turn and do you hurt and consume you after that he had done you good. And the people said unto Joshua, Nay, but we will serve the Most High.
No, we're with the Father, we're with the Father. Go ahead.
And Joshua said unto the people, Ye are witnesses against yourselves that ye have chosen you the Most High to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. Now therefore put away, said he, the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto the Most High power of Israel. And the people said unto Joshua, The Most High our power will we serve, and his voice will we obey. So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day, and set them a statute and an ordinance in Shechem. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of the Most High, and took a great stone and set up there. I gotta go with this one. 26. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of the Most High, and took a great stone and set it up there under an oak that was by the sanctuary of the Most High. And Joshua said unto all the people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us, for it has heard all the words of the Most High, which he spake unto us. It shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest ye deny your power.
We agree. We agree. So generationally, now, we agree to the Father. We're being in Joshua because we knew what the curses were. We knew what was going to happen. We agreed. That's how we connect to who we are. That's why we know we're in the situation we are. That's why we know what nation we are, because we can read this and understand who we are. That's what kind of brought a lot of us here, to understand this church and in the Most High. We agreed. It's a covenant. All right, let's move on to, let's go to the book of Judges. Judges chapter 2. And the backdrop for this is this person that's speaking, that they're talking of. Well, let's just get it, brother. Just go to Joshua chapter 2 and 8.
This is the book of book of Judges, chapter 2, verse 8. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Most High, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gosh.
So when they broke up the lands, Issachar gets this, Judah gets this, Joshua had his own cut. Joshua got his own piece. That's all Joshua asked for, is Timnath-Heres. That's what he asked for. And all the other tribes got their places, and they got their lands, and that was all described. Keep going, brother.
And also all the generations were gathered unto their fathers, and there arose another generation after them, which knew not the Most High, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel.
So this is Judges, right? We just read in Joshua that everybody said, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to be down with the Father. We're going to be with him. And now what just happened? Knew not the Most High, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. This is where we're at now. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11, And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Most High, and served Balaam. And they forsook the Most High power of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, of the gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Most High to anger.
After we agreed, no, be with you, Father, I'm going to, yeah. I'm with you, Father, generation, we agree. Go ahead, brother.
And they forsook the Most High, and served Baal and Ashtoreth. And the anger of the Most High was hot against Israel.
And we were told, hey, if you don't, this is what you're going to get. Go ahead, brother.
And he delivered them into the hands of the spoilers, and that spoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies.
You have no power in your hand. You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. Go ahead, brother.
Whatsoever they went out, the hand of the Most High was against them for evil, as the Most High had said, and as the Most High had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed.
Whithersoever they went out, no matter where you're at, this is going to happen to you. I don't care where you go, this is going to happen to you. Don't matter where you're at. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Most High was against them for evil, because they chose to serve Baal and Ashtaroth. And we're going to get some definitions. Like they're going to get into a couple of links that break down who they are. Because the name of this lesson is The Gods of the Nations Are Idols, Part 1. So here we go. Let's get Baal. This is Baal. Go ahead, brother.
Baal, properly Baal, was a title and honorific meaning owner, lord, in a Northwest Semitic language spoken in the Levant during antiquity from its use among people. It came to be implied to gods. Scholars previously associated to Thyanim with solar cults and with a variety of unrelated patron deities. But inscriptions have...
Here comes the but. Inscriptions, go ahead, brother.
But inscriptions have shown that the name Baal was particularly associated with the storm and fertility god Adad and his local manifestations.
So that's a Wikipedia breakdown of that god, lower G. Let's get the next one. Ashtar.
Okay. Ashtar is the Hellenized form of Middle Eastern goddess, Ashtoreth, Northwest Semitic, a form of Astar, East Semitic, worshipped from the Bronze Age through classical antiquity. Astar was connected with fertility, sexuality, and war.
Yeah, these are two gods that we just read in Judges. We're not supposed to be having anything to do with them. We said we wouldn't, and these are two gods that were named, that who we're doing it to. Go ahead, brother.
Her symbols were the lion, the horse, the sphinx, the dove, and a star within a circle indicating the planet Venus.
Yeah, so pick one, whatever you want. Got one for all of you. Whoever you would like the lion, take that one. Like the horse, you like the dove, you like the sphinx better than? Go ahead. Those gods, the deviousness of them, the spirit that's on them, it doesn't matter. That's what's going on. Go ahead, brother.
Pictorial representation often showed her naked. She has been known as the defied morning and evening star. The deity takes on many names and forms among different cultures, and according to the Canaanite mythology, is one and the same as the Assyro-Babylon goddess Astar. Taken from the 3rd millennium BC, Sumerian goddess Anana, the first and primordial goddess of the planet Venus.
So Ishtar, and we'll go all the way back to the other teachings where we're going into where it would be Easter and these other gods. And it's worshipped from the Bronze Age through classical antiquity. This is Greek gods that we worship against the Father. But now we know them, right? We know their names, and how do we, what do we do? So like, we're gonna speak to people that are not in the Gathering Christ Church that want to know about these gods. They're gonna want to know about them. Both sides says, don't be getting into them and knowing about them. Know about me. Know about me. So you can be like, yeah, those are gods, but that's not my God. So they want to talk about it because, I'm kind of interested about that God. It's kind of intriguing me. And it happens, you're going to get that conversation because they're going to want to talk about it. It kind of intrigues me, that God that is. No, I'm not going to have nothing to do with that. This is my God. I'm not intrigued by that. That's not for us. That's not for me. You don't got to be intrigued in knowing all these gods. You got to know that it was an abomination. That's what I do know about that God. As an Israelite, let me tell you what my understanding what that God is. It's an abomination, and I ain't supposed to have nothing to do with it. That's what that God is. It's an abomination. I have nothing to do with it. They want to research it and get books on it, and hey, I did something on that God, or that, whatever, and whatever. We'll get the commentary, then we'll get into the next part of it, and you'll see where the reference was to Dagon, the God that's actually in Conan the Barbarian, and what they were talking about. Yeah. We get the commentary, then go to that.
The Most High told Israel that he would cut off the nations that were before them, and not to inquire after the idol gods that the nations served, or the Most High will cut Israel off like them. Every abomination under the sun was done unto these gods. The Most High required Israel to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings of clean animals, whereas the demons who represent these gods require sacrifices and burnt offerings of people. Joshua warned Israel to put away and not serve the antediluvian gods that the generations before served. A covenant was made. The Most High made a promise, and Israel made a promise. However, Israel did not keep their promise and started to serve the gods of the nation after Joshua's death.
All right, now we're going to go to 1 Samuel 5:1. And this is the God that, it's actually in the comic book too for Conan the Barbarian, that they describe this God that's in there. It's used in there. So I was looking at that and I was like, wow, they bring it out in comic books. Children will want to be interested in it. What does that do? What do they want to do? They want to play Dungeons and Dragons. They want to get into this gaming. They want to get into all these things to start understanding these other deities or gods that are lesser gods. And people will look at them, and their children look at them, stay warmed up into getting into that, and be okay with it, and never even try to know who the true God is because they're good with that. And just being home. They're good with that. They're good with you not even having nothing to do with the Father. They're good with that. With us being lost with that. That's good enough for them, because they're not with the Father. They're good with that confusion. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 1. And go ahead, brother, get it.
This is the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 1. And the Philistines took the ark of the Most High. And
they took it because we were messed up with the Father. Just real quick, that's what happens, because there's no way they could take it from us unless we had done wrong. So if you back read in this, you'll know how they took this, the ark from us. Go ahead, brother.
And brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of the Most High, they brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it by Dagon. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Most High. And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Most High, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hand were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him.
So they were doing this, trying to put their God over the ark. Go ahead, brother.
Therefore, neither the priests of Dagon nor any that come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon and Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of the Most High was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod at the coast thereof. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of the Most High of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us and upon Dagon our God.
So the ark was there, and it destroyed them, and it kept destroying that house that they had for Dagon. So that house that they built for Dagon, that none of their But it said they didn't even want to walk in. None of the priests didn't even walk in that building. They were like, no, I don't even want to be in there. You don't want to mess with that. They didn't want to have nothing to do with it. Because they already knew, like, no. If he's doing that to that, I don't want to be in there. But what happened was in that backdrop, so we're talking about Samuel, right? So Samuel did not right with the Most High, and something happened with him. So let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 9. So these Dagon priests, they remembered what happened. And in battle, Samuel dies, and this is what they do to him. Oh, Saul, I'm sorry, Saul. Sorry. Let me get this in. Yeah, Samuel did right. It's locking. Yeah, let's get that. 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 9.
This is the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 10, verse 9. And when they had stripped him, they took his head and his armor and sent it to the land of the Philistines round about.
These are all the priests that were salty about what happened, but now they had a victory and they had to show it. Go ahead, brother.
To carry tidings unto their idols and to the people. And they put his armor in the house of their gods and fastened his head in the temple of Dagon.
Right. Now they knew, like, yo, there ain't no power in their hand, now let's do this. We got them now. We got them off. They're against their God. And eventually, Saul and I forgot which brother it was, they went back and they grabbed these pieces of his body and they wound up, and this is part of the two where, well, a story where they were asking about cremation and what they do, how they formally bury a body. But we'll keep moving on. So let's get a description of Dagon, this god, so he'll know this guy that what we're dwelling with, that the Most High was putting his hand, they would let him know, like, no. And it says it talks about us here. This is another Wikipedia link, but it talks about the Hebrew Israelites, talks about the Hebrew Bible. Go ahead, brother.
Dagon, Phoenician. Okay, Hebrew is spelled.
Just jumped out into it. It's ancient. Yeah.
Okay, is an ancient Mesopotamian and ancient Canaanite deity. He appears to have been worshipped as a fertility god in Ebla, Assyria, Ugarit, and among the Amorites. The Hebrew Bible mentions him as the national god of the Philistines, with temples at Ashdod and elsewhere in Gaza. A long-standing association with a Canaanite word for fish, as in Hebrew, perhaps going back to the Iron Age, has led to an interpretation as a fish god.
So you see the little fishes on the cars and stuff like that. Where does it come from? Go ahead, brother.
And the association of merman. Motives in Assyrian art, such as the Dagon relief found by Austin Henry Layard in the 1840s. The god's name was, however, more likely derived from a word for grain, suggesting that he was in origin associated with fertility and agriculture.
So if that don't work, then we'll just make him into fertility or agriculture god. Whatever one, just worship him. It don't matter. It don't even matter. However you want to put it up as, the god of cars, or the god of whatever you want in this world, however it could be. The god of Mercedes, the god of whatever. As long as they're with it, let's go. That's good enough. So let's get, Man, this is the part that I really wanted to show up. let's just get this part right here. Let's get this part where, let's go to 2 Kings. Skip the commentary. Let's go to 2 Kings, chapter 5. And the backdrop is this. This is the part I wanted to show you. That there was a Israelite sister that explained to this man that was not of the Most High, that was under a different king. You can backdrop into understanding this. She basically told him, if you go to our God, He'll heal you. And if you have faith and understand, you go to our God, He'll heal you. Our God will heal you. And this high-ranking soldier that was in this other king's, he was like a soldier that was like, he was marked, like he had reputation. I think it was like they would have never overcame us if it wasn't for this guy. But he was a leper, and this leper wanted to be cured. And this sister told him, like, it was like sister. It says, if you backdrop it like into chapter 5, that our God would heal you, and you would be healed, and what you have to do to get healed. But this is basically telling us, and we're not even going to go there. We'll just stop there. This is basically telling you what the God that his king was worshiping was dealing with, and he was asking for mercy. That I know I'm worshiping. He just healed already. He was healed. I know I'm worshiping the wrong God, but I'm gonna ask for mercy from God that when I'm forced to kneel down with the king that I'm under, that I'll be okay. That nothing will happen to me. And he was healed. So it says Naaman seeks healing for his leprosy, and I'm just go read chapter 5 at the beginning, the first part of it. I'll just read 1 and 2. I'll get it, brother, because you've been reading a lot. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and honorable, because by him the Most High had given deliverance unto Syria. He was a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. And the Syrians had gone out by companies, had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, Would my God, my Lord, or with the trumpet prophet, or my God, or with the prophet that is in Samaria. In other words, hopefully, if my Lord would go there to the prophet in Samaria, he would recover from his leprosy. And he's like, I'm just telling you, this is what would happen. And what wound up happening is he did go, and he was cured, and he asked for forgiveness. And this was the God. I just wanted to get that part of it. Even though in the lesson it only shows that what this God was, Rimmon, that was the God that they were, giving, serving. But this man was healed because this Israelite sister, took the time to say, look, you can be healed, but you got to go to the real God. That was just a part of it that I wanted to back up, and that's not in part of the lesson where it was, but I was just like, man, she did what? So this is our job, this is our work that we got to do too. Like, why do you think you're having things in your life and problems in your life? And you got to go to the true God, the real God, to get understanding. Then you'll be okay. If you're getting understanding from whoever you're going to, and nothing's working out, let me tell you something about where I go, my understanding of the Most High. And you can look at our teachers and our YouTube videos, and you can check it out and seek and find some understanding. Because obviously what you're saying, you're talking to me, it ain't working. It ain't working. But we're going to go, let's go to the last commentary. And what it does is there's a bunch of other gods that are named, and Aqua had been reading a lot more. It basically, the lesson goes and names a lot of the gods. And it goes into where Christ says about serving other gods too, but like I said, we're just going to go. And this is part 1 of this lesson. We didn't get through it. Go ahead, brother.
part of our curse would be that the Most High would uproot us out of our land and scatter us to the four corners of the earth to serve the wood and stone idol gods of the Gentiles. We have been groomed in the ways of these gods and not to the ways of the Most High. There is more to come on this subject, as we are just scratching the surface when it comes to the gods of the nations being idols.
So it's boring to us to know this history. It might be boring to read it and get all this stuff like that, but we gotta know it. You gotta know it. So that you can be like, no, it's foolishness. There are people who are gonna come and talk to you about it, but you gotta be able to be like, no, that's foolish, no? It's like, no, well, how's that working out for you? If you wanna go with that guy, how's that working out for you? You good? Well, I'm good here. And just be good with it. But if they're seeking for help and counsel, you're gonna get it twice. You're gonna get one that's gonna be like, I'm good with my God, okay. Okay, we're not gonna strive, we're here. But if a person is looking and they understand it differently, like, well, they can explain to you as an Israelite what this is what it means. This is what it means to me. I can't tell you in the words of thesaurus or anything like that. I can tell you by the words of this book and how we're taught and what they always bring us. Go ahead, brother.
More than ever, it is important that we study to show ourselves approved. Receive the baptism of Christ while continuing to stay cleansed by the word, so we can make certain that we are complying with the ways of the Most High, serving Him and not the ways of pagan gods serving them. Shabbat Shalom, family.
Yeah, so it was a lot, and I looked at this lesson, I was like, wow, this is one part, it should be a two-part to the one part, because it goes into all this reading, and you start looking at it, all these other books, and wherever your walk is, wherever you're at, to understanding where you're at, sometimes you don't want to, you're not ready for that. You're not ready to read that. You're ready to work on something else in part of your life, and where you are with the Father, your relationship with the Father, that's okay. When I first came with the church, that's where I was at, because they were going into Jasher, and they were going into Enoch, and I was like, hold up, I'm still right here. I'm still right here. So did I feel smoked by, what was going on? Did I feel smoked where I couldn't correlate and all stuff like that? I can't deny that, yeah, I had that feeling on it. And this lesson has a lot of it, because but I'm like, look, I needed to be introduced to it anyway, and I started realizing that too. It's like, well, you gotta be introduced to it, you gotta know. You gotta know. Because we're being looked upon, and they're like, well, in the world will be looking at us like Israelites have high knowledge. Okay, we have high knowledge. We have high knowledge, but you know what? Let us our walk be high with the Father. Let our walk be in order with the Most High. With that, so if there's any questions or comments that pertain to the lesson, the gods of the nations are idols. Let's take them. And like I said, we were just scratching into 3/4 of the lesson, starting to get there. So. You get Sister Mike. Oh, you get it off. You go first.
Shalom, family. Shalom. No, it's just a comment just on the importance of, it's interesting how this lesson came out during this holiday season, and understanding that all these different, gods are important to go into, because a lot of times we don't even know that we be worshiping things in our everyday life, and not knowing that, and it's important to get to know and understanding these different gods the Bible talk about, so you're not getting caught up, unknowingly now, you have information concerning that, and there may be certain things or practices you used to do that now you can have more clarity and understanding for, because of the gods and what they have you do to worship them. So.
Dwada.
Shalom. I was originally actually going to bring this and show it to Deacon, because it's crazy, and it just happened upon me and my wife. But it pertains to the lesson. So this is a book about ancient Rome that somebody we know just came back from a trip and got it as a child's book, right? And in it, it looks, like innocent, but we got to be careful, when and always double check when we bring our children or let other people watch our children. Because this goes into ancient pagan gods. They got pictures of pagan gods. They got Jupiter. They have like ancient temples. And it also goes into things as, like it goes into like homosexuality. And they actually have pictures like of the male anatomy and things like that. It also goes into like men with children and things like that.
And it's a child's book, children's book.
And this is a children's book from Rome.
Yeah.
So the gods of the nation are false gods. And so they don't understand or have what we have when it comes to discernment. And so when we go through things like this, we got to be careful because they don't know what wickedness really is because they've been brainwashed through society. So this may be like a history thing, but in it is so much wickedness that they wouldn't even understand. You know what I'm saying? And so I looked through it and I had to ask my daughter, did you look through this book? And she was like, no, I haven't looked through it. And then I go in there and it's men on men, men with children. There is, with all the different gods, and they also actually go into Vespasian and his son Titus. Now, in this book, they have pictures of them, and reverencing them as like great men. So in knowing that the gods of these other nations are wickedness and they are idols, we have to be careful with what we let our children do with these. So when your child comes back from being watched, whether that be school or something like that, make sure you are in their life in depthly and drill them. Make sure you drill them on what they've seen, because the wickedness that comes from above the clouds, they try to get them at a young age. So we just got to make sure that we're very attentive when it comes to school or even being babysitted about what our children see. Because the wicked one will try to get them at a young age. I mean, even with the most blasphemous wickedness you can ever imagine. And even in the children's book. So, just be aware, of what your children are into. Shalom.
The water.
Shalom, fam.
Shalom, brother.
Just a quick question. So, in the beginning, you were talking about how the angels went down to the daughters of men. Would the daughters be going to, or would that be a sin on them? Or did the angels shapeshift to make themselves look like men? So
Right.
would that be a sin on them?
They didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know that what they were dealing with. They didn't know. But on top of that too, they still took the knowledge that was given to them. So if you're with the Father and you look at it like that, the understanding of who he was, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about that, whether sisters would be like that, because they didn't know that who they were dealing with for sure. Because they could take a form of their husband, it could take a form of anybody else they wanted. And from that part of it, honestly, I do not know. We'll take that up with the elders and see how that, that's a very good question, Brother Dewada. Very good question.
Dewada.
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, so I just had a question with regard to the sirens. So in Enoch chapter 19, verse 2, where it says, talks about the women, were the women who went astray that became sirens, or the female, are we speaking here of the any female fallen angels, or is this the females who slept with the angels, the male angels that fell?
It's the second part you said it's the angels that fell that slept with the females.
So are we saying, or is it saying that those females who slept with those fallen angels, that they became sirens?
Yes.
Okay.
But your question wasn't whether the angels were females. That was the original. Is that what you were saying too?
No, I was asking if it was alluded to the fact, or if it was, trying to say that the sirens were female spirits that fell, or female angels that fell, or if it was saying that the females that slept with the fallen angels fell.
Yeah, it's like you said, it was your second understanding. So yeah, they were female, and they slept with the fallen angels, and then they became the sirens.
Okay.
That's how it goes.
All right. The water.
Shalom. Very informative lesson. Praise the Most High for that. The antediluvian, what was the definition in the beginning? I missed it.
It says there. It's an adjective, and it says of or belonging to the time before the biblical flood, and it's got parentheses on this, and this is just a online definition. Gigantic bones of antediluvian animals, and that's in parentheses. And then it's got all these other links that you can look at. And it says before the flood, prehistoric, primeval, primordial, and primal. That's like the similar links that you can look into that, what they were saying. But those are all just basically backing up to like what it says is belonging to the time before the biblical flood. That's what they know. They know what that means. Yep.
Fantastic lesson.
Praise the Father.
2 points. In the movie Flash Gordon, there's a reference to the to the little guy, Digon.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
He tells Flash that you can't take my life. My life belongs to Digon, and only he can take my life. So, and I'm listening to the radio station. Beverly preset the channel. But I'm listening to a radio station, and they got this contest. You know, this is the holiday season. And they got this contest, and the answers was 3 Roman emperors. And I think they were giving away like $500. So I'm looking for my phone. I said, wait a minute, I don't even have a phone number to this station. The answer is 3 Roman emperors. But I thought about it, and I said, now that's awfully strange to have it on this particular station, and the answer, because people were answering, oh, those are children's books. I said, no, those are 3 Roman emperors. That's the answer. And I'm saying, that's a quick $500. Where's my phone? Okay, but you as parents, you have to educate yourself in this word. So when those things come up, you can perceive what you're being, I guess, interjected, you're being taught, your children are being taught. The parent actually thought that was a children's book for an answer. So, very good lesson.
And this is the elders. Praise the Father. Anybody else with questions?
Shalom, family. The very timely lesson, man, great lesson. Me and my family, we was watching this documentary about giants and stuff and fallen angels and things that come in. And within that, like you already explained, the celebrities that worship the fallen angel, or not even worship, but a lot of celebrities. Well, let me go back, because when you look at the fallen angels, they love to be worshipped. You know, that was the thing that they wanted to do, even when the 70 angels came down and they confused the language. It was a thing of let me allow these people to worship me. So we got to be careful too, because spirits can take over us when we, want to be exalted or something, or want to be worshipped. Just like the celebrities today, they find them, and who else better to go in to people that want to be worshipped. So, that was basically what the documentary was coming in, where people would come in and it was talking about the angels coming in and loving that praise again, because these are ancient demons that's still here today, and they love to be worshipped. So, yeah, right? That's just a comment I had.
Or Shalom. That is a good lesson. I'll put it to the most side you brought it out. Because what I know, what I realized too, like in school and stuff like that, the teachings that they inspire, it's key that you bring out those definitions like atheism or agnostic, because with a lot of the teachers, what they produce, they make sure they make your mind not think about the Most High, but make you think that you have your own choice of serving what you want to serve. And that's the key thing about idolatry, because with the angels and how the way they operate, they make you do things without you knowing that they're there. You know what I'm saying? Like people always say, the best thing that Satan ever did was make sure that he's not known. You know what I'm saying? And the key aspect of it is that I see a lot of people who stand on this point or this aspect or teach this or say, well, you can do what you need to do or whatever you want to do to serve this particular ideal or that ideal, when that's going to lead to nothing else but just more confusion and dysfunction and things like that within the community. So, and just like what you brought out in that book, it's tons of things like that too, because that's what the nations did with our history. They painted their own images within it. And then also too, with a lot of different pagan origins, they blasphemed that and added all type of other stuff. The stuff I see in the history is just be ridiculous. And I just be like, don't even call on me, because if you call on me, I'm gonna just bring it out. But it just be like, but just with the gods in itself, just how the way they just totally just blaspheme the Most High. That's the thing that I get from this lesson, is just straight blasphemy. Because even with Satan himself, you know what I'm saying, he puts and produces so much stuff to exalt himself. You know what I'm saying, but the Most High is just there. Because they always got all these teachers saying, well, you know what I'm saying, the Most High's creation can be this, or it can be that. So they can produce this particular thing and not make you think on the Most High. So then now you're idolizing yourself, now you're going this way, now you have no humility, now you got all of this stuff, and that's just the first foundation of all things, is you craving to live a lifestyle and to bow down to a certain thing that you have no understanding of. Because when you take the Most High out of anything, the first thing that hits in is pride, and the second thing, you begin to idolize things. You don't even realize it. You know what I'm saying? Just like with food. You know what I'm saying? You eat this thing, but now it becomes an idol. Like, man, I just want like the chicken sandwich. Yeah, I just want that. It becomes an idolized thing. And anything, we might be doing this, but that can produce that. You know what I'm saying? You might be a good runner or a good football player or a good basketball player, but then that becomes an idolized thing. Like, yeah, this is my life. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have this. And that's one thing, and that's a key aspect to why people don't end up getting the chip. It's just like that thing that they see, that's their idol now. It's like, man, I can't live without them. So that's the thing we gotta keep in our minds. Like, even though we got the truth, you baptize and stuff like that, you can still fall back to idolizing something at some point. And that could be the main thing that makes you fall away. You know, so that's what I always keep in my mind. But yeah, that's what I got from the lesson, man. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 just kills it all. So, I'll praise to the Most High for the lesson.
We don't have to be no Nimrods. We will call each other Nimrods. So, do we have any visitors? Oh, we got still a question. I'm sorry, brother.
Shalom, family.
Shalom, Mark.
It's deep, because I had just brought this out to my family on the way here. But
Spirit, brother. Hey, I was talking to other brothers too before this, and they were talking about, I was like, what? I was just like, wow, it's the Spirit.
This came out, it's a post like 4 days ago. And I mean, it's on like CBS, Christian Post. But I'm just reading this, and as Michael Allah brought out, like with these books directed towards children, apparently there's one of the more recent ones is called A Children's Book of Demons. And just reading a little bit from this article, so it's exactly what it sounds like. But as the holiday season gears up, the product is being sold by leading book retailers, such as Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Books A Million. The book is marketed as appropriate for ages 5 to 10. And the catch line or whatever of the book is, don't want to take out the trash tonight. Maybe you're swimming in homework. Perhaps that big bully is being a real drag. The description of the book reads, well, grab your colored pencils and sigil drawing skills and dial up some demons. This paranormal parody is filled to the brim with funny spirits, more silly than scary. It goes on and on, but for those who don't know, it says a sigil is defined as an inscribed or painted symbol considered to have magical power. In the book, sigils represent a magical symbol representing the letters of the demon's name. So you got these books targeted at children, more and more coming out, and this is encouraging children, ages 5 to 10 to actually draw symbols related to demons and, conjure them up or whatever the case is. But I just wanted to bring that out too, yeah.
Come. That's good. I mean, you got the party yard, stuff like that, now they're ready for that. Now the parents are ready to welcome that. It ain't no problem now. So earlier we had there was just all these other shows, programming, and if that's one thing that always got me too. When they would interrupt the TV program, when they brought it back, they always would say, "We now return you to your regularly programming." I'm like, what? Okay, what you got? Some says.
And just touching on what the brother was saying there. So then, it's even like right in our face every day, all day. Every time you look at the news, what he's speaking about, sigil and sigil magic. You see when the news come on and it's got all of those different symbols going in circles different ways and coming in and out with all the words going around it. That's sigil magic right there. And that's meant to hypnotize. That's meant to hypnotize us, those who watch it, so that you can be more ensconced in what's the narrative that they're putting on the news.
Right, witchcraft, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. All right. Now, are we ready to go into visitors? New visitors, anybody here? First time? For a first time to come into this lesson like this, it's probably like, what? These brothers, what are they teaching? You got somebody? You got a brother? Yeah, brother, you just got your name and why you came in, and you don't got to get all heavy with it and like that. You don't got to get all, you don't got to bring it all out and like that. Just say.
My name is Sam. I'm Sam.
Sam?
Yeah.
All right.
I just came into town this morning and I was walking by and I saw this place. I was like, what are people doing here? I just decided to present to find out what was happening. And here I am.
All right, sir. All praise to the God. We got another, yeah. We got, this is visitor part of the,
I'm sorry.
You got a visitor with you, sis?
I'm not a visitor, but I was just standing to say I'm back, and I thank you guys for your support, and I just wanted to extend that to you guys. I love you guys, and thank you so much.
All right, sis. All right.
Really breaks my heart. Cause we've been lied to, misled for years.